Hey guys, this is Fady from Harvey Productions, and welcome back to another video from our channel. Today we want to do something a little bit different. Me and my buddy Jordan, you guys will see him here in just a second. We wanted to shoot basically the 7B and the 208 from Lauten Audio and then compare between them. And then what started as two mic setups, now it turned into all of these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mics, all the way from $50 to $7,500. And then we're going to run through all of it, a full test with Jordan. He's going to sing through all of it, and then I'll let you decide what is the best mic for you.
Well, this is what it looks like when two musicians have to become videographers. And here we are. This is what we got going on. We got Fady out here with his camera. We're just trying to do what we've got to do to make it happen. Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, this is Fady.
This is Jordan.
We're here at the studio. And initially the thought was...
let's do a shootout between the SM7B with the cloud lift and the Lauten Audio, what is it, the LS208?
LS208.
And we showed up to do that today, and it turned into something completely different.
Here's what it turned out to. Full mic, we called it the ultimate mic shootout.
Yes, there are 11 mics behind us right now. And yeah.
Well, let's kind of talk through it, because we got everything from $50 to $7,500 and all what is in between.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk it through. All the way on that side, we got the MXL.
Now you said, was this your first mic?
$40.
Yeah, this is the first mic you had.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
It's $40 microphone.
And you made records with this.
I did.
Okay, there you go.
Tracked vocals, tracked acoustic guitar. Made it work.
Yes.
When I had to.
Okay.
Then we have a 57, $100. Everybody knows 57.
Yep.
And then we have the 7B, it's $399 for that mic.
Yeah. And how much is the cloud lift?
Cloud lift is about $149, I think, $150 to use it.
Yep.
Then we have the Lauten 208 LS208. How much is that one? It's like $550, something like that. It's like in the 500 range. Then next to it, we have the Slate ML-1, which I believe they go for about $500 now.
Okay.
On sale. Then next to that, we got the Neumann U67, which is a tube mic. This is $7,500 for that mic.
You're pumped about this mic. Yeah, Fady's pumped about this mic.
I mean, it's as good as it gets-ish. Then next to that, we got the Shure L22 by Universal Audio. It's about like $1,500, $1,700. Then next to it, we got the Atlantis by Lauten Audio, which is about $1,500-ish. Then next to that, we got the Slate ML-2, which is $150. Then next to that, we got the Neumann U89, which is the brother of the U87. It's about $3,500-ish. Then next to that, we got the Cascade Fat Head with the Lendl transformers, which is, I want to say, somewhere like $400 or $500-ish.
Sweet.
Yeah, everything from $40, $50 till $7,500.
Yes.
What do you feel about this?
Well,
I'm going to sing through all of it.
I'm going to sing through all of it, so it's going to hurt a little bit, but it's worth it. It's for a good cause. And what is that cause? It's for you to have information on how you can, maybe you're in a place where you're trying to make some investments.
Yep.
You know, my home studio setup, and I've talked about this on my channel, where I'm in a less than ideal situation. I have some treatment and all of that, but Becky's dog is still barking next door when the people are coming and cutting down trees, all that stuff. So, you know, maybe you're ready to make the next jump in your mic purchase, or maybe you're in a much better treated situation like this, and you're an engineer, producer, and you're like, hey, I want to have some comparisons between what a vocal or something like that could sound through a different mic. Hopefully this can be something that's very informative for you. So
Absolutely. And in terms of mic pre's, the way we've done it, so only both Neumanns, the U89 and the U67, they're running through real 1073s, so through Chandler LTD 1073. But in everything else, is running through just Universal Audio Apollo. I have the X6 and X8, so running through the Unison plugins for pre's, except for the Atlantis and the MXL, they're running through the 4710D by Universal Audio on the solid state setting. We're not doing any hardware processing, so no EQ, no compression, nothing, because we wanted to grab the mics at their pure state, as well as you guys can see, we're not using any pop filters, except for the 7B and the 2.8, because they come with one, so they have that advantage over other mics. So we're just going to keep those on, and then we're going to go through it.
We're going to go through it. I look forward to it.
That's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun.
Let's dig in.
Let's do it.
Okay, like I promised, we're going to dig in right now in Pro Tools, and let's see how all these mics sound like. I'm trying to balance all the signals in here to make sure that they're all pretty much at the same levels as much as I can, and then prep the Pro Tools session here for us, so let's go through it. So we're going with the order here, the same order I had my microphone set up from my MXL, and then all the way down to my fat heads. So I'm just going to play through all of them right now, and you guys can take a quick listen. Just FYI, for my ML-1, the Slate, as of right now, I'm using the 67 emulation, and then I'm using the 1073, which it'd be similar to how I ran my 67 through my 1073. As well as for the Sphere, I'm also using the 67. I have the filters turned off because I had the same on the my 67, no filters, as well as I was recording on cardioid pattern. And for the ML2, I did the same thing, and I'm also using the U67. So let's play through it one time, and then so you guys can listen to it yourself.
Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Let's change the world, save it with our love. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
Okay, so now that we've gone through all of them, I'm going to also include the samples. I'm going to bounce all of these, include the samples in the comments below. So you guys make sure that you download the samples, listen to them at full quality 4824. Obviously, make sure you listen on your studio monitors, good headphones, so that way you can compare. There's three factors here to consider. And before we dig in a little bit and then kind of dissect it all. So there's the price of the microphone. Obviously, we went all the way from $40 to $7,500. So consider that factor as you're listening. There's also the second factor, which is your your preamp. And then how much are you spending on each preamp for these microphones? That goes into the total price factor. So for example, if I'm using my U67, which is a $7,500 mic, and then I'm using my Chandler LTD1 1073, that's a $2,500. So then my chain right now is $10,000. But then if I'm choosing the ML-1, that's going straight into my Apollo console, and then that is basically the only money I'm spending is the price of the ML-1, which is about $500. So $10,000 versus $500, and then obviously all what is in between. So just consider that as you are listening. The other thing to consider is I ran everything completely flat, no EQ, nothing. Obviously, when you're mixing, you can adjust a few things to make it a little bit closer, but I'm intentionally not involving any equalization in this process at all. That way we make sure that we capture the source at its full quality. And I used no pop filters in front of any of the mic, except for the Shure SM7B and the Lauten 208, because they come with their own pop filter built in, which is an advantage. So I just left those on those mics. Okay, so let's break it down here. And I'm going to give some thoughts on each one as we're listening through it and what we have found. And maybe I'll give it a little bit of my opinion toward the end. Let's dig in. Okay, so starting with the MXL, that MXL ran through straight into the Apollo console at a 1073, the Neve Unison pre. And honestly, this was again, like I said on the other video, my first mic, $40. I bought it used on eBay.
Will shine so bright.
It doesn't sound bad for a $40 mic, especially that I don't even have equalization or anything or compression. I can probably work with that tone and do a lot more work to it. But for $40, that's pretty dang impressive. And why am I saying this? Because so many new studio and new artists that are just starting, and they're like, well, if I can't afford a $5,000 mic, then I can't start. And my point is, no, you can. Get yourself a $40 mic. That helps you figure it out, and just a decent interface, and boom, you got yourself a decent start. And make sure that you have a soundproof room. And if your room is not soundproof, build a couple panels or use a couple blankets to make sure that you're recording in a dead environment. And you can get this quality out of $40. That's pretty impressive. I'm going to A/B the MXL so that's the cheapest, and I'm going to A/B the cheapest chain that we've used to the most expensive chain that we've used, which is the U67 running through my Neve 1073 hardware preamp.
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
What do you guys think? I would really love to hear your comments in the comment section below on your thoughts on this, because there is $9,000 and $960 difference in price point between those two. Is that worth the money for you or not? Because that's a question you want to ask yourself before you dropping that much money. And I'm not against buying expensive stuff, because I do have some. But you want to make sure it's worth your investment. So here, let's play it one more time.
Will shine so bright. Will shine so bright.
Okay, moving on. I'm not gonna compare all of them against each other. I'm gonna compare the ones that make sense to compare against each other. So Fat Head, and you guys will notice right away when I was playing the first demo, those are ribbon mics. This is the only ribbon mic across the whole thing, and they are super dark, and they're designed that way. I never use that on vocals. The Fat Head for me is I would use it sometimes as a room mic for drums. I use it on a guitar cap, but then I always pair it with like a 57 or a Neumann or something to grab the top end from the Neumann and the 57, and then grab the mids and the bottom end from the Fat Head. But you'll notice right away, Fat Heads are super dark.
Will shine so bright.
So I probably won't use that for vocals, just to be honest. Okay, let's grab both Neumanns next to each other, because that would be a good comparison. So here is a U67 and a U89. They're both running through my 1073 hardware. I have two of them, so I ran both at the same time at the same exact settings.
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
One of the main things I notice about the difference between the Neumann U67, which is a tube mic, versus the U89, which isn't. It's just the 89, for those who don't know, it's pretty much very, very similar to the 87. It's a little bit smaller in size. The main differences are on the 89, the highs are a little bit more tamed than the 87, which is a more brighter mic, which I kind of like the 89 more for that reason. And then you also get more polar patterns on the 89 versus the 87. That's why it's more used for orchestral recording. It's becoming a very famous mic for a lot of studios for orchestral recording because of that reason. But comparing here 67 to the 89, and I ran more tests with a couple more singers on that mic specifically because of my favorite two mics that I'm using. And I noticed that the 89, even with its tamed highs versus the 87, it's still brighter than the 67. When you listen to it by itself, it's a good bright. But then when I compare it to the 67, I kind of like the 67 more on the top end because it feels less exaggerated. It's more natural. It's actually the tone of that singer, as if I'm standing right next to the singer. That's exactly what he sounds like. I don't have those little bit more exaggerated S's on the top. The other thing that I've noticed that made a difference to me is the mids. The 89 has super clean mids, but because of its super clean, it sounds to me it's slightly scooped. So it lost a little bit of the body, but again, it's clean. Like it's not like other microphones which has a muddy mid-range that I have to cut and EQ a lot. With the 89, I normally don't have to EQ a lot. But the advantage of the 67 has more mids, which I'm assuming it has to do with also using the tubes, but it's not the unpleasant, muddy mids. It's actually super clean, super punchy mids on the 67, which I guess, it's double the price point. And the third thing that I have noticed between those two mics is with the 89, if the singer moved his head a little bit or end up hitting like a high note or something that went to a head voice or a falsetto voice, the mic would show that, and it will show the loss of body more, and then the voice is not as round as it was. My point is, it's pretty straightforward. But the 67, it still sounds good in all of the above. It's kind of hard. Let me just say it that way. The 67, it's hard to make it sound bad. Even when the singer made a mistake about moving their head slightly back or turn it a little bit off axis, or they went to more head voice, so they weren't presenting a lot of mids there, it didn't sound too thin. It still captured their voice with a full body and a full tone, and I didn't feel those artifacts. Those are my take on those two. Obviously, this is trying it on a male voice. If you try it on a female voice, the difference will be slightly different. Obviously, if you tried it on an acoustic piano or acoustic guitar, will be even more difference that you can notice, and it will look different depending on the source. Now, the other comparison I want to do is the SM7B and the 208. They're both at the same exact price point if you include the cloud lifter. It's $400 for the 7B plus $150 for the cloud lifter, and it's $550 for the 208 by Lauten Audio, so they're pretty much exactly the same. One is dynamic mic, which is the 7B. One is a condenser mic, which is the 208, which is the competitive for the 7B. So let's listen to both. They're both on flat, everything on flat on both settings-wise.
We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
For this specific take with that specific singer, which is Jordan, you guys met him earlier in the video, I like the 208 on his voice more. It's more crisp. The 7B, it doesn't sound muffled, but I feel like I lost some of the top end in his voice, which I don't like for a singer like that. I do want to grab all the crisp of that singer from the source, and I don't like to add an EQ later on to boost some of the highs because it felt too dark. That's my take on this. They're both absolutely amazing mics. They're great. I mean, 7B, Michael Jackson recorded on that for years and years and years. And I got both in the studio, and I just go back and forth depending on what the source is and the need for them. They work great for live settings when I have a full band in the live room, and then I want something that has better rejection than full condenser mics. So they are my go-to mics for those reasons. Okay, I put here a 57 just because it's a classic old school 57. Everybody got a 57 in the studio for some reason. And the reason why I did it is like, can you even track your vocals in a 57? Whether it's a draft vocal or a final vocal. So I'm going to actually run that 57 against the 67 from Neumann, and you guys can, which is the most, so that's $100 versus $10,000, including the mic pre, and let's see what it sounds like.
We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
I mean, you can obviously tell a lot of the low mids and low mids and low from the 57 are gone in his vocals, where you get a lot more body and round for the 67, which is one of the things that are well known about the 57. That's why it sounds amazing on a guitar amp, because it cleans up that electric guitar tone, and I'm not getting all that muddy low mids and lows. But I mean, I just included it because if you got one at your studio, why not use it as well? And then you get to see what it could potentially sound like. Again, that is running just through my Apollo for the 57. And I have the 1073 Unison pre on it, and this is it. Okay, now moving down our way to the ML-1. Okay, so this would be a really cool comparison here that I'm going to grab the actual 67. And then now I'm going to compare the 67 to the ML-1 to the Sphere. And in this scenario for the ML-1, I'm using it on 67 with the Neve. And then on the Sphere, I'm using it 67 as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 1073 after the Sphere. And for the Sphere, I'm adding the 1073 after the emulation from the Sphere. On their manual, and I've done that in my previous video. If you guys haven't checked it, you should check it out. You could do either one. They said it's okay. I like to grab the most accurate emulation. So what I would do, if I use a Sphere, I actually record straight through my Apollo console, no unison pre's or any coloration. I choose my mic emulation in the Sphere for what I like it to sound like, and then I print that and I take that audio and then run it through a 1073. And that way I'm getting the normal vocal chain of what I would have done if I'm using a microphone. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go the real 67 to ML-1 to L22. And they're supposedly all simulating a 67 right now.
We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. We'll shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
And here you go. You got $10,000, $500, and about $1,500. And they're all simulating the same mic. People who say that the simulation is perfectly accurate. I completely disagree. They don't sound bad. The ML1 doesn't sound bad, and the Sphere doesn't sound bad, but they don't sound exactly like the real 67. So with this mic simulation or emulation, where they say it is exactly the same, you can never tell the difference if you close your eyes. No, if I close my eyes and you play those 3 tracks to me back to back, they are not the same. There is difference there that you can hear. But moving down to the Atlantis, which I recorded, and you guys can see here, I recorded, there's 3 Atlantis. Because that Atlantis, one of the advantage of that mic is it has a button on the back that goes N, F, and G. So N is in natural mode, F is in forward or brighter, and then G is more darker and vintage. So I recorded all 3, and I'm going to play through all 3 here, guys, for you. So starting at N, and then we're going to go darker and then brighter.
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
That mic is about, I believe, $1,500-ish. And I ran that mic through my 4710 by Universal Audio, which is a great pre, which is basically the 610, and I ran it on the solid state mode. Here's kind of my comments on that mic. I use that mic a lot. I actually, whenever I A/B for my vocals, when I have a recording session, I go between my Neumanns and my Atlantis and my Sphere before I even try anything else. Those are like my main 3 go-to. I like the idea that you get 3 mics in one with the Atlantis between the forward, natural, and the vintage. But to be honest, I found myself never using the F or the G. I'm only using the natural mode. And the reason why is if I wanted a brighter tone, whenever I tried the Atlantis on the F, it did not sound good to me. It almost sounded like an EQ was a high shelf. It's not a natural brightness. It's more exaggerated brightness. I didn't like it. Like I would choose the Neumann in that situation because it's especially the 89, or if you have an 87, they will be slightly brighter in nature. And then I got myself my brighter tone. The G is, I've used it only once because I was recording a song and then the artist wanted to go as like a super darker tone, to go as that vintage vibe. And then so that kind of created it. But majority of other mixes, I don't really use the G because it ends up being a little too dark for my taste for that vocal. And then it's kind of hard to cut through the mix. And I find myself coming back and then adding an EQ to bring back those highs a little bit into the mix. That's my take on it. For the price point, it's still a great mic, and I still highly recommend it. Okay, so the ML2, this is actually an interesting. I never use ML2 on vocals. I use ML2 a lot on drums, like on toms and snare. That's really where I would use it for. I've also experimented before with using an ML2 on a guitar cap and combine it with something else. So what I did here is I chose the 67 on the ML2. And then let's run now a comparison between a real 67 and an ML2 67. And then I would also want to run a comparison between ML2 67 and ML1 67. Why am I doing this? Because ML1 is $500, ML2 is $150, and then the 67 is $7,500. I want to show you guys the differences there. So let's run first a real 67 versus an ML2 67.
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
So it's night and day difference. Let's just be honest. It's so much darker. Even if I adjust the proximity effect here,
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so...
it just doesn't sound anywhere close. It feels like that emulation is just an emulation, but it really isn't any close. Now comparing ML2 to ML1, let's listen here. So these two, start with ML2. Let's put the proximity back at 0.
will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
And obviously they are very different as well, even though they are from the same company, but both 67s don't sound the same. What's my point? My point is, if you're asking yourself, oh, well, I can get the ML-2 for $150 and then make it emulate a 67 for me instead of buying the ML-1 for $500 and make it emulate a 67, they don't sound the same. ML-1 is significantly better for vocals. And just for those who are asking as well, on the back of the ML-2, there is a button called Dynamic and Normal. I ran it on normal mode, not on dynamic mode. It's a great mic for snare drum and toms and guitar cabs. I probably won't use it ever for vocals. And the difference, which is a $350 to go to the ML-2, is significantly better quality for vocals than the ML-1. And then the last is the Fat Head, which we have discussed earlier. I'm just going to run the Fat Head next to a 67 here, so that way you get you get to hear how much darker that Fat Head is.
Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night. Will shine so bright like it's the middle of the night.
It is significantly darker, but it's a great mic. It comes in handy in certain situations. For example, I had a recording session, and then we were using the grand piano that I have, which is an old grand piano. It's 110 years old. It's super bright in tone because it has that classical tone to it, and it's kind of punchy and bright. The song that we wanted to record, we wanted to go as that vibey, darker tone. And that grand piano doesn't necessarily serve that. So for us to compensate, I ended up not using any condenser mics for recording that grand piano. I only used a pair of those ribbon mics, the Cascade Fat Heads, which is the one that I have is the modified one with the Lendl transformers, not the small ones, which I like those a lot more. That was the Lendl transformers. And then it basically, what it did, it tamed so much of that bright piano, which I love how it turned and how it sounded on the recording. It had that full body to it. It was darker. It was kind of balanced, not too dark because the piano was too bright. And then this kind of brought it back down to that really happy medium. There was a lot of mids in it. So it worked out great. I also used that mic all the time on pretty much almost every guitar cab that I record in the studio. I still pair it with something else, but it has that beefy mid-range that if I'm going for that really beefy, grungy guitar with like a lot of mids in it, that it has that full body tone, I always do this and then pair it with something else to grab just the top end if I wanted to. But it's a great mic for that kind of stuff. Probably never for vocals, at least for me, for what I use it for. Also, be reminded that those mics are figure 8 patterns and not cardioid patterns, which plays a big role into that as well as you're recording vocals. Do you want to record in figure 8 or not? And depending on your room and how much sound treatment you have in your room. So I hope this is helpful. I hope we call this the ultimate mic shootout with Sir Jordan, as you guys saw at the beginning, because we went all the way from $40 to $7,500, or if you include the pre, it's actually $10,000 as well. If you go all the way, and all what is in between, you guys will have access to all these samples. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please make sure that you put it in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And I would also love to hear your thoughts. Which one is your favorite mic? Which one do you prefer? If you loved this video and this was helpful to you, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.